I'm an African expat, I guess you can say. But I return about every 2 years or so to visit family and to travel around Africa. I've been to Botswana and quite a few different places there. So I definitely enjoy visiting.
Awesome, awesome. I think this is new to me. I didn't really know you're from Africa. That's awesome. So I think we could just go right straight to it. Can you tell us briefly about yourself? I think we might learn more about you by learning a bit more about yourself aside from the whole blockchain and crypto stuff.
Okay, well, as I said, I was born in South Africa. I moved when I was 7 years old to the United States, and when I was about 10 years old or so, I got my first computer here in the United States, which just blew my mind. And so I started programming at a very early age, about third grade or so. And ever since then, I have not been able to turn off computers. I found my love in programming and creating software and that sort of thing early on in life. And so I was fortunate to be able to make a career out of doing things that I love to do. So I became an entrepreneur. I've started several companies before and exited from several companies before. So I'm also fortunate to be able to invest in my own ideas and things that I want to do, which ultimately led me to my current company, which I've been running for about 12 years now, since 2012. It's called XYO Labs. And we've always been fascinated with connection between the physical world and the virtual world, and how do you bridge that connection? So it's something which I find very fascinating, because computers by themselves and the world by itself separately is not as interesting as when you connect them. And there are obviously connections like photos and things like that, but being able to connect them with sensors and information and an oracle, which is what we often call it in the blockchain space, which I think is very interesting. And so that's why we started the XYO concept, which stands for location oracle. XY is location. We probably should have called it XYTO, because it's really the XY, or XYZTO, because it's really three-dimensional space plus time that you connect to the blockchain, not just X and Y. So it's really a physical world connection to that. So we're in many ways we're the original DPIN, if you guys are familiar with that term, the decentralized physical infrastructure, where how do you connect physical infrastructure to blockchain, making it decentralized.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you for the explanation, and also going a little bit into SYO as well. Honestly, I was watching an interview where he talked about starting the whole coding stuff really early. And you even saying it here from third grade. I think that's really, really interesting and definitely caught my attention. So basically, you are saying you just like got your first computer and basically just started coding. Was there anything that like pushed you into coding, or you just stumbled upon it and fell in love with it?
I more stumbled upon it. Really what it was my father, who was a physician. He got a computer for his office to manage the billing for his office. And so he would, on Tuesday nights, he would go to class at a place called Radio Shack, where they would sell these computers. And so I would go with him, and I started having an interest in that. So I would learn how to program in BASIC, and what's now called Happy Basic, because it's not even structured. It just has line numbers. So, you say like 10, print your first name, and then 20 go to 10. It was like the original loop program, which will just print your name over and over again on the screen. So I learned BASIC, and then once I did that, I had a computer at home which had 16K of memory. It was a very simple computer. I worked for the summer in, I guess, my sixth grade. But 3 years later, I worked for a whole summer to save up to buy an Atari computer. So that was my next computer. I could then learn how to program in BASIC and in 6502 assembly language on an Atari computer. And a lot of it was honestly to hack games. I wanted to cheat at games make them easier, or to change them, or to add things to them, or put my name into games and stuff like that. So, or to make them so that you can copy them, you can crack them and put them on a bulletin board. So, when I was younger, I did some fairly nefarious stuff with computers, but that was a very good learning experience. My parents weren't always that supportive because they thought I was getting myself into trouble, but ironically, I was actually learning a skill which would long-term benefit me in my career. And then I did go to college, got a 4-year degree in computer science, so I can get interviews at companies, and then started working. And I worked quite a few years for other people. Had some great mentors along the way that I worked for at a couple different companies, and then decided I wanted to start my own company. And I started that, probably 5 companies along the way, of which half of them succeeded, half of them didn't, and became an entrepreneur the hard way, where try and fail, and then save up some more money, try and fail, and succeed eventually. And then once you succeeded, you have a little bit more of a buffer zone, and you can use that money to try some other things. So really, it was I would say almost a simple, traditional, old school entrepreneurial experience, as opposed to the Silicon Valley approach, where you just are lucky enough to know the right people to invest money in your ideas. I never really had that in crowd to sponsor me, if that makes sense. If you want to type in questions, there we go. So what is the role of XYO Oracle Network in the XYO protocol ecosystem, and how does it enable secure and trustworthy data exchange between different parties on the network? Well, that's a very good question. So the XYO protocol, for you who read the white paper, is based off of a thing called proof of origin. And so what we do is we make bound witnesses between different payloads, which are signed by both parties. So if I have a piece of data, I make a chain for myself of that data, and the history that I have reported data on as a physical infrastructure agent, basically, or a witness in our case, is sequential. But I can also co-sign that with somebody else to actually intersect those two blockchains. And in that case, it's basically, I can't change that. It becomes like a normal blockchain where it's immutable, and the source of that actually is permanently on there. So I can't remove items from it, and I can't change any items on there that I've reported. And so if multiple people report data from the same place, you can compare how they are to see if any of them are Byzantine. And also, if multiple people are in the same place, they can actually co-sign the same piece of data, like the same temperature reading or that sort of a thing. So the XYO Oracle Network basically is an implementation of that protocol. So what we did was we took the concepts from the white paper, and we implemented it using TypeScript and WebAssembly for a lot of the cryptography, to be able to produce these various blockchains, and then have them link across each other, and be able to have a tangle of data where once it's been recorded, it's very difficult to change, and you can see where that data came from, who reported it, and what the history of it is. And that way you can see if there's any Byzantine actors on there. Hope that makes sense. Someone asks here, can you talk about the XYO World 4.0 update? That is in progress. So for you guys who are familiar with XYO World, XYO World is a set of NFTs basically that we made that allows people to claim different parts of the physical geography of the world. And we're in the process of integrating that into our new system called XYOS, which is our central hub to be able to plug everything together. And so we're going to have that in XYOS as a fundamental portion of the way that rules are set for different things, and people can explore and view the physical world through the system. And basically, it'll be the kind of like the Google Maps. Google Maps is to Android devices, kind of like XYO World would be to our XYOS, if that makes sense. Next question is, do you expect to make any major partnership announcements? We always expect to make major partnership announcements, but I can't say what they are or when they're going to be, because that's future-looking statements. We're constantly a team of people talking to different companies. We're working with various different companies, but as I said, because we're a publicly reporting company, we can't hint at any of those things in a conversation like this. We have to do it in a more public format where everyone can see what those are. So stay tuned to that. If you watch our socials, for example, or our public SEC filings, you can definitely see them in there.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think I'm back. My network got off a bit, so sorry about that. Yeah, I think the community is already keeping you active, so we'll just get right back to it. So I wanted to ask a question before I got off. This is something that our community has actually been really interested in knowing, and majorly is about what brought you into the blockchain space, because I believe that you are already in the tech space, but not in the blockchain space, and even SYO as well, because even though trying to solve some decentralized problems, just SYO is still in a way trying to solve some centralized data problems. So I just want to talk a bit about what brought you personally into the blockchain space. What got you interested in blockchain?
Well, I would say I'm primarily a huge fan of sovereignty. Whether it's personal sovereignty for human beings or people, or sovereignty for companies, sovereignty for thoughts, sovereignty for data. I really like the idea of not needing other systems to be able to make things work. So, for example, right now the transition from like cartridges for video games or CDs for video games to them being in the cloud, where if the cloud stops supporting them, then your game stops working, I think is pretty frustrating, because you don't actually own the game. So you've lost sovereignty on that game. So for a long time, that's been really my quest, is to make things that are sovereign and decentralized. And the way I kind of look at it is that something that's decentralized can be decentralized in a democratic way, where you have a 51% approval makes it true, which is the way that Ethereum or Bitcoin works, right? It's a consensus mechanism. But then you have like zero knowledge proofs, for example, or just true cryptography, where if you can sign something, so for example, if there's a block that's signed by my address, it's either true or it's not true. I don't need 51% consensus to say, well, is this signature accurate? It actually is mathematically provable, which to me is even one step further than a consensus mechanism. So I've always been fascinated with using cryptography or just tools in general to make things sovereign. And when I started learning more about how blockchain works and how cryptography works, it really allowed me to do things with XYO Labs that I was trying to do 10, 12 years ago, that I couldn't really quite get done because I didn't have those tools in my tool chest. And so I kind of stumbled upon that because I started talking to people about, well, how does the consensus mechanisms work? I read the Bitcoin white paper, and I would recommend for anybody out there who's in this space, if you haven't read the Bitcoin white paper, read that maybe 2 or 3 times. It's a very important white paper to explain kind of how that works, and then also learn about like ZK snarks and zero knowledge proofs, because those are extremely important things. And obviously, how do signatures work and how does cryptography work is very important there. But I've always been kind of fascinated in that concept of sovereignty and independence for software and for systems. And once I saw what blockchain was doing and cryptography was doing, it just was such a natural fit for what my interests were. And so we kind of moved that direction in 2018, I think it was, from the company, when we started working on our blockchain system.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that insight. Honestly, one thing that is really fascinating to me about the whole blockchain and crypto as well is decentralization. How kind of like bringing us out of the whole government parties and the rest. So I'm actually also in support of everything you said as well. So I will just move further into XYO proper. Yeah, so if I'm basically a sixth grader, and you wanna like explain XYO Labs to me and what you guys are trying to like build, how will you explain that to me?
Well, what we're trying to do is provide things that you can already do on the internet, but in a much more sovereign way. So, for example, XYOS, it runs in a browser or on a desktop or in a Docker, for example, if you want to. But it doesn't require a server to authenticate you. You create your own authentication for it by making your own address and getting your source key on there. So, for example, if I set up an XYOS on my computer and you set up an XYOS on your computer, we can communicate peer to peer without having to go through a server. Where, like, if you use WhatsApp, for example, all your messages go to Facebook, or Meta, I guess is what they call it now, and then they send that to the next person and relay it there. So there's a middleman in those cases. It's kind of the same way that Bitcoin solved remote cash transfers, because it's one of the best descriptions I've heard of Bitcoin is that cash is a way that I can send value from one person to another person, but I have to be in physical proximity to them. If I wanted to do it remotely before Bitcoin, I'd have to use banks or some sort of a service like Western Union or whatever it is that will wire money to somebody, but there's always a middleman that you have to trust that will take it, and they'll usually take a cut or a fee for that. Where Bitcoin makes it so you can do a cash transfer or a value transfer remotely without a middleman, which is revolutionary. And I think that same thing can be applied to data and to interactions between people on computers, where if I have a computer and you have a computer, there's nothing saying that I need to have a middleman to handle all of our data and all of our communications. We should be able to just connect to each other and have direct communication and direct data transfers without any sort of central authority, whether it's a company or a government or anybody else in between.
Awesome. So basically, how can Africans basically use this in real life? So can you give like an example of how XYO technology is used in real life? How it could benefit us?
Well, one way to do it is through our Coin app. We have an app called Coin, where if you install it on your phone, you can gather data, and that data you can get rewarded for. So you can basically exchange that data or the information or the work that you've done there for XYO, or for actually you could coin for it, but you can redeem it for XYO. That's one way you can benefit from it right now. The XYOS is in its early stages as far as there's only a few simple things you can do with it. For example, you can make a profile on there, and so you can share your profile with somebody else. We only launched it a short while ago to show the proof of concept of how it works. But every 2 weeks, we add some new features to it. So being able to actually be a provider of services on it is something which we're going to be doing next. So a person can set up a XYOS node and be able to provide services for other people, or be able to use services from other people by paying for it with XYO tokens. So right now, the best way to benefit from it, if you want to make XYO or if you want to produce XYO, is to use the Coin app. But in the next few months, you'll be able to actually set up an XYOS instance also and be able to generate XYO on there to use somewhere, or be able to buy XYO and spend it on there for services that you want to get done on there. So say, for example, you want to be able to process a bunch of information, take data location information and figure out how many people visit a certain area or get answers like that. You'll be able to use the system to do that from various different data sources. But really what the goal is to have that OS such that many of the current solutions that are out there that are Web 2 or centralized can be replaced with Web 3 systems to produce the same outcome. So we'll be integrating with things like Filecoin or various different storage mechanisms like that are decentralized, IPFS obviously, and making it so that you can actually use that data on there as well and store your data in various ways. Put your own images on there, back up your images on various things. So those are all different features that are usable by there. So for example, you can provide storage for other people to store images on, or you can purchase storage from other people to put images on, is an example of that, where instead of having to use like S3 from Amazon or Flickr or one of those centralized services to do it, you can do it in a decentralized way for your data backup. Also, chat, for example, we're going to have a chat system on there where you can chat directly with other people, peer-to-peer, without having your chat messages go through a third party like a Meta or something like that. So any of those services that you currently use out there, making it so that it is encrypted and peer-to-peer is really what our goal is. And as I said, every few weeks we put a new feature out there for that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And something that I kind of like grabbed is when you talked about the Coin app. That was like something that was fascinating for me. So if basically I want to like use the Coin app, I have to like download it. Will I be connecting it to my wallet? How exactly will I go about that?
Well, in the Coin app, when you use it, you don't have to have a wallet initially. You can just use it, and it'll put coin in your coin balance on your account there. But then if you want to redeem it for XYO, then you have to specify the wallet that you want to put it into, like the Ethereum wallet, to transfer the XYO into, or like a Coinbase account if you have Coinbase, for example. I think you can directly transfer it to Quidax yet, but if you put it into a wallet, then you can put it into Quidax from there. But yeah, all you need is to have an email address to sign up for it, basically, just to make sure that you can recover the account once you've logged in there. And then as you use certain features, as I said, like there's also a feature where if you have XYO and you stake that XYO basically, and you say that I have this XYO in my wallet. If you assign that wallet to your coin account, then you'll get extra coin for having the XYO. So it's a way to generate additional coin using XYO that you own, and then you can redeem that coin for more XYO, and then put that into this staked wallet, and then continue to grow your XYO account, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely does. So I need to exchange my coin for XYO. That is exchanging the virtual currency for like a cryptocurrency, right?
Correct. And largely that's because of just rules and regulations on Android and Apple app stores. You can't make apps that directly produce crypto for you.
Okay. Got that. Thank you so much. So we're coming to the end of the questions that I have here. So we'll leave the community to now ask their own questions. So how is XYO different from other companies like that also work with location data? What's like kind of like the different things that you guys are providing that you feel, we need to know about?
Well, I think from a company standpoint, one big way we're different is that we're a very transparent company. Part of sovereignty to me is transparency. I think security through transparency is a very important thing, rather than security through opaque technology. So we file with the SEC. We're a United States company, and so we file every because it's twice a year. Financials, and once a year it's fully audited. So what's going on in our company is very transparent from that standpoint. We try to be, and we think we are one of the most transparent crypto projects out there as far as everything that's going on there. That's what makes our company special. We've also been around for a long time. We've got a lot of experience in writing software. A lot of these projects that have been stringing up the last few years, they have great ideas, but sometimes they don't have the experience in how to actually write software to be able to produce those results that they want to produce there. We also are a little bit different from the standpoint that we don't view Web3 as an absolute. I think a lot of people are maximalists, where they think that you can't integrate with Web2 at all, and I tend to believe that really, the transition to getting sovereignty and to getting all this Web3 stuff working is to move Web2 in that direction. I think it was Jack Dorsey, the original founder of Twitter, who called it Web 5, which is really what the goal is, I think, for a lot of this stuff, where you take the best of Web 2 and the best of Web 3 and put them together and you make Web 5. I thought it was an interesting way of kind of jumping over Web 4 or whatever that would have been. But that's something which makes us different also. We embrace the integration with Web 2 and try to let people pull in data from Web 2, for example. So like in our case, we can witness API. So if you say, well, I want to oracleize data from an API, I can do that because the API is Web 2. We'll take that data, we'll put it on our blockchain, and now it's in Web 3, and then we can use it from there. So we don't completely lock ourselves off from Web 2, which gives us a huge benefit as far as performance goes and scalability goes. Where running a computer, for example, on Ethereum, everybody shares the same hard drive, for example, because there's only one shared stored piece of data, which is the blockchain, which makes it extraordinarily expensive to store things on there. So if you say, well, I want to store a movie or a large image or a large file on Ethereum, it'll cost you tens of thousands of dollars of Ethereum to be able to store it on there, which makes it very unusable for many different things. So our view of how we think of the future of Web 3 or Web 5 is different than many cases of other companies, and I think that's really where the deep in aspect of it comes into, because the physical world and the way people use computers, it is what it is. You have to embrace that. You can't ask people to shun how they comfortably feel computers should be used, start using Web 3 instead, even if it's more expensive or more painful or more slow to use. You have to give them a runway to get there. So the way we are trying to get the benefits of sovereignty and decentralization and provenance and all that is a little bit different than many of the projects that are out there.
Yeah, thank you so much about that. There have actually been some controversies around blockchain and the likes, where some people have even say that blockchain is not really centralized, that's decentralized as we see. So I have this question: how does XYO why should people rather trust the information provided by XYO technology?
Well, the thing which I think makes us different is, like, for example, like Unix or Linux, should I say, Unix and Linux. Those came from a person saying, well, I want to use a program called Multics, which is meant for multiple users, and use it by myself and have my own node for it. So in the case of XYO, you can actually run your own XYO node. Go to node.xyo.network, which is where the XYOS is. You can run that yourself and connect it to your friend's computer or your other computer, and not necessarily be involved with a consensus mechanism or a group or a network as such, and it still works for you. And so the fact that it's something which you can run individually or you can run as part of a network is something which I think makes it much more clear that it's pure, because it's your own data, and it's just math, right? It's just a program. Now, obviously, there could be bugs in there and that sort of a thing. And also, all of our software, all of our code for our protocol is open source. So if people want to go and observe that and see what's going on in there, they can see if there's anything strange that's in there. But the protocol also defines how it works. And so on our OS, for example, in many places we have these little XYO buttons. So this little logo for XYO, and you can click on those and you can see the data that is being used to produce the output that we are showing to you. So if you're like, oh, well, why does this say that? You click on there and it'll show you the JSON packet that actually makes that up, and that was signed by somebody. And so kind of like Etherscan, where you can dig into it, that goes into those different things. So that's really why I think it's a peer-to-peer system where you can have only your own small personal network. To me, is much more clear that it's trustworthy than you're kind of like logging into this large system that is being managed by a bunch of miners, for example, or other systems that are running it. But it's, as I said, it's a controversy. People speak about that. It's like when anything which gets bigger and bigger will naturally gravitate towards some sort of centralized control, whether it's groups of miners, whether it's the developers that produce the code for it. And it's something which you have to always constantly watch and be careful of. It's kind of like politics or governments for that reason. The natural order of anything is to become more centralized or more control based. And if you want sovereignty, if you want freedom, that's something which you have to be very vigilant about and constantly be aware of and keep on checking to make sure, is it still decentralized? Is it still, sovereign? It doesn't just naturally stay that way.
Yeah, thank you so much. Basically, to keep on checking if this is still like going with the goal of the whole product, which is decentralization. So I'm coming to the last question because I believe that SYO has a lot of products, basically. So what are some of the products you feel we should know about?
So for XYO products, obviously somebody asked about XYO World before. I think that's one of my favorites, where a map-based system where you can play games on there, or you can use it for different aspects on there. But really, what it comes down to is the data marketplace is largely the business use case of it, where people can buy and sell data. I can own my own data. I can store my own data. I can process my own data, and so me being able to own my sovereign data and say what I want to do with it, whether it's buying or selling it from other people, that to me is really the crux of what DPIN is, and how that infrastructure works. But for each person to be able to have their own control of that data, and what even in some cases, like being able to have my data that people can target my advertising to. If I can own that, I can see what it is, and I can tell you what you're allowed to use and what you aren't allowed to use. That's a very useful use case for XYO. So making it so that I don't have to tell you all my data. I can just tell you if I'm interested in a certain ad or not. So there are a lot of enterprise products like that, which are much more data centric as far as being able to communicate with companies in a sovereign way and as an individual. And there's also a lot of fun things you can do, like, for example, a bracket for sports betting. You can do that, where I can set up my bracket and you can set up your bracket. And then once I give you my hash and you give me your hash, we can't change our brackets anymore. So I don't have to show you my bracket, or you don't have to show me your bracket, but at the end we can say, well, I think I did better than you did, and then you can reveal your winning hand at the end. So there's a lot of interesting gaming and entertainment features like that also that we're working on that are kind of interesting in there. And obviously it's sharing profiles and sharing data, sharing images, some of the aspects of social media. So there's a lot of little pieces of things that you do already, whether it's social media, chat, those sorts of apps are all on the backlog for us to add to XYOS.
Awesome. Thank you so much. A lot of interesting products. Thank you so much for going deep. So basically it's time for like questions from our community. I guess a lot of people have like what they're interested in asking the CEO of SYO. So you can just drop your question in the chat if you have any specific questions concerning even the blockchain, crypto, just any question you would like Mr. Arie to have answered. So you have the floor, you can just ask your question. So going to our first question, I believe you have already answered a couple in the chat. So I'll just try to read them out so you could just answer them. So Rimfa is asking, are there any other ways for customers to obtain SYO tokens besides buying them with cryptocurrencies, such as through mining or earning them through other means?
Well, I think I mentioned this before. The Coin App is the best way to do that right now. So if you install the Coin App, you can get virtual currency, which is called Coin, and then you can redeem that for XYO. So it's one way you can generate XYO tokens in a mining sort of way.
Yeah, basically, I think he also said that in the beginning about Coin App, so you can check that out, download it, and start making some bucks with the SYO tokens. So moving to the next, what specific plans does SYO have in place to increase demand for its token and improve its overall value in the market?
Well, there's really two aspects of that. One is the demand of XYO from companies. So, for example, with the Coin App, when people want to buy data from us that people sell to us on the Coin App, they buy that from us either with XYO or with cash, which we buy for XYO because we have to get the XYO from somewhere to be able to give that out in coin. So it becomes a market, right? Where the larger and larger the coin data exchange becomes, the more XYO has to be used there to be able to pay for that data. So there's definitely demand from companies buying and processing data on that side. And then, of course, on the other side is the more features we add for consumers to XYOS and features like that, or XYO World, people would want to use there also for XYO to be able to have those features. And then people who are running nodes to be able to support those will get paid for those, kind of the same way that gas is being done on Ethereum. So really growing our partnership base for companies and enterprise, and growing our consumer base for XYOS are the two primary thrusts for how more and more XYO will circulate through our system and be able to have people need it and spend it, and then earn it, and then sell it, and then buy it and spend it, and basically it goes. So the measure of an economy generally is how much money moves around in that economy, and so that's really what our goal is to drive the supply and the demand of XYO.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for that. So next question, please, can you mention some financial benefits I can expect as a customer when staking in XYO?
Well, the primary one right now is in the Coin App again, where if I think it's called HODL rewards, where basically if you're holding or hodling XYO, and you have that account, that Ethereum account attached to your Coin App, you generate more coin virtual currency with that, and then you can redeem that for XYO. So basically, there's a simple system there where you basically get interest, or an interest type thing on your staked XYO. The next place where staking will become useful is when if you provide a service, or somebody else provides a service, and you stake their service, you will get a portion of their rewards of the service which they are staking and providing for you there. But we haven't finalized that yet for public use.
Awesome. Interesting, really interesting. So just pushing to the not the last question though, but what a specific marketing strategy does XYO have in place to reach users in other crypto communities, and how has the company's marketing approach evolved over time?
Well, really, Coin to a large degree is probably our primary marketing aspect, from finding, getting users to start engaging in XYO. I actually view Coin largely also as just getting people to get involved in crypto in general, because a lot of people who start with Coin, they're doing it just for some rewards, and sometimes they even want just video games as opposed to crypto. But it's a very easy way for a person with very little risk to be able to get some crypto. They don't have to go and buy it necessarily. So it's a great onboarding system for crypto and for XYO. We also obviously have a lot of socials. Follow us on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter, or X now. We have our Telegram channel as well. We are on quite a few exchanges out there. Coinbase is the large one in the US. We're on KuCoin, I think, in Asia. It was listed on our website where all the different exchanges we're on. I can't rattle them all off myself right now. Even if you go to CoinMarketCap, you can see on there what the exchanges are that we're on. So that's obviously one of the ways that we get out there for people to see that. We publish articles about industry interesting things every once in a while, and we also talk about our specific items that are on there. One of the things that we're trying to ramp up now also is adding interesting, fun apps or dApps for XYOS. So when a person can advertise those, and when a person sees those dApps, they may want to use the dApp for something, but then they realize, oh, this is actually an XYO-ism, and you have to use XYO to pay for it. So it's a way for a person to find out about XYO because they want to use the cool feature which we're providing for them.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So coming to the last question, someone is saying I can't find XYO on Play Store. I guess it's Coin, not XYO. I believe, Mr. Arie.
Yes, that's correct. Also, if people want to try out the OS, you can go to the node.xyo.network. So if you go there, you can use our XYOS, but you can't generate XYO on there right now. You can just use XYOS in a sovereign way, and see the dApps that are on there right now. But there's no payment rails yet. That's one of the next things we're adding to is the payment rails to be able to be a provider of services and to also pay for provided services as well.
Awesome.
A web-based tool. It's kind of like the web-based version of Uniswap, if you're familiar with that.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. Guess everyone will have to check that out. So I think we're coming to the last part of the AME. So I don't know if anyone else has any other question. You can just drop it. Before then, I don't know, Mr. Arie, do you have any maybe final words or anything in particular you like to talk to us about?
No, I don't think so. I just want to thank everybody for listening today. We've been around for quite a while. One of the things which also makes us a little different, I think one of the questions that George asked us what makes us different is we're actually a profitable company that's generating something. So we have a ongoing runway to be able to produce interesting things. So we're not a flash in the pan sort of a company. We've been around for 12 years. We've been working on this crypto stuff since 2018, so it's about 6 years now. And we have Coin, and our company is an established company that's been running for quite a while. So we expect to continue working on this project for the next 10 years plus or whatever it is to really establish a sovereign infrastructure and connection to the physical world with our deepened visions in the next 10 years, and try to change the world and try to make the world a better place. So thank you very much for your support. Or if you buy XYO, also we have something called XYLB, which is our stock. So you can buy our stock as well. You can see that on the XYOS at the top there. There's a way to buy stock in our company too.
Wow, that's really interesting. Seeing your company XYO being available for 12 years, that's insane. I think not every company can actually boast about that. So that's really awesome, and more reasons for people to actually look into investing in XYO. So awesome work. So basically, for the next step, we actually do have an airdrop campaign coming up with XYO. So I guess everyone will have to look into that, because it's going to be really great. It's kind of like a trading competition where you have to buy XYO and stuff like that. So to win a lot of rewards. So basically, you keep in touch with Quidax. We'll be announcing that very soon, so you can keep in our socials, communities, to know when we're going to announce that. So thank you all for joining this live Telegram live. I will be having another one next week. Is it this week Sunday? With another guest. Basically, so thank you for coming, thank you for joining, and see you in the next. Thank you so much, Mr. Arie, for giving us some time to talk to us. So I guess there's no other question, and I don't know, is it night over there, Mr. Arie?
Sorry,
I say, is it night or morning?
it's afternoon. It's about 12:24 in the afternoon right now.
Oh, it's actually almost 9 p.m. So
okay, it's late there.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having us on, George, and I'm very excited to be on Quidax. It's great exchange for us to be on.
So thank you, and do have a great day. Bye.
And you guys have a great evening.